Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to On Your Mental. This is the podcast that shares candid, open, and sometimes vulnerable conversations between and about men. This week it's just me, and I'm talking about being on the right path. There's only one path you get in life, and that's your own, and that's something I've been thinking about for the last little while here, and I hope y'all enjoy this week's. It's short. If you like it, leave a like. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you in a second when the episode starts. Peace. Hey everybody, I'm back. This week it's just me, and I'll give a brief explanation as to why in a moment here. Long story short, I was sick. So if you saw on our Instagram story, I just gave a little update. Just like fucking out of nowhere, this thing hit me, and it was like Tuesday morning. I woke up and out of nowhere I had sore throat, fever, body aches, headache, like a dizziness when I was walking around. I was like super restless, no appetite, no like coughing, no shortness of breath. But I was convinced this shit was like COVID, right? So I went out and I got tests done. All of them came back negative, 4 of them to be exact, over the course of, I think I did 4 tests in 3 days. So I have no idea what that was, but shortly after that few days, I was like back to feeling okay. But obviously because of that, I'm not going to bring people in here, right? I'm not going to subject someone to my potential sickness. So this week it's just me, and I'm going to share something important at the end of the episode, or towards the end of the episode, regarding the On Your Mental scheduling, if you will. But anyways, I thought I'd just do a little solo episode because I have been thinking about things. You all know me by now if you're not new to the podcast, if you're already following and subscribed. If you haven't already, subscribe now. Like the video, like the episode if you like it this week. But yeah, I've been doing some thinking, and so I'll share the things I've been thinking about. I've been thinking about being on the right path, you know, and kind of it's that one line in the J. Cole song Love Yours that always comes back to me, or I guess the whole song always like comes up in my own mind, you know. But no such thing as a life that's better than yours. So that's kind of the vein of thought we're going down today. But before we get started, if you were following us on Instagram, you would have also seen about 2 weeks ago I posted something about these right here, these little fellas. So I'm covering up the stuff here. I'll put it in this camera so you can see it. This, of course, is Fungal Friend, and we've talked about Fungal Friend on our Shrooms episode a little while back. So these things, I used the macro capsules, the Shine Pack, the other day to think about some of the things I'm about to talk about in this episode. And these microdose ones, the Rise Pack, I've been using every 4 days or so, 3 or 4 days. Feels good. Bit of a mood booster. It definitely has been helping the mental health, or at least it feels like it has. Research kind of suggests that it does. But do your own research. Check out the website, fungalfriend.com. And don't forget, if you do end up ordering, you can get 20% off. Use the code OYM20 at checkout. So before I get into those things, there's like a new documentary out. I think it's called How to Change Your Mind on Netflix. It's like a docuseries, but it talks about like the actual use of psychedelics around mental health stuff. And so I thought it'd be interesting to actually try it and like use psychedelics and like go into it deliberately with a goal of like stuff to think about. So the things I wanted to think about were the idea of being on the right path and being on your right path, because I think that that's important. You can get lost in comparing yourself to a bunch of other things, and that takes away from the joy and the experience that you get in living your life. Because newsflash, your life is the best possible life you can live. There's no other life that you could live. So it's probably in your best interest to start to enjoy it. And when you can create your own barriers to that, lucky enough, those are things that you can change, because those are things that you've come up with. Those are things that you've put in place to take away from that joy that is life. And that's what I was thinking about. So I'll get into it. I'm going to be referring to notes to make sure I get the things off of my mind, what I wanted to talk about here. So pardon me as I look up and down here. Otherwise, by the way, life's been good. I had some birthdays celebrating this past weekend. It was nice just seeing people. Things have been good. This is not some kind of downer podcast here, okay? This is positive. This is all positive here. So I'm going to touch on the idea, I guess, the concept of like self-forgiveness and letting go. Anybody who's ever worked on anything ever can understand, like, you want what you're doing to succeed by whatever metric it is that you're putting in your head. Specifically, I've been like thinking about the podcast, and it's like we've been putting in so much effort into getting episodes out, and it's almost like the pressure that we put on ourselves to do that. And maybe it's like pressure I put on myself. I don't know why I say we. I'm not speaking for Kabir here. But the pressure I put on myself to get an episode out every week and like try and come up with some creative topic to have a conversation about, keeping that pressure there, while it's nice to like have a fire under your ass, it can potentially take away from the authenticity of the art and the conversation that we're trying to have here. And the point of the podcast, which is to increase awareness around mental health, give you a space where you feel safe as the audience to come and listen, and you feel like it's a warm place. You feel like you're not like at risk of judgment by participating in like the dialogue as you take these conversations away and maybe into your own life, but in general to improve the mental health of our audience. In trying to do that and like building on your mental and like making it a thing, I think I've put a lot of pressure on like trying to see it grow at like a certain rate and stuff, right? And that's stupid. And that's like the conclusion that I came to over the last little while. And the shroom experience of like forcing myself to think about that topic, I knew how I wanted to think coming out of it. It just like maybe helped solidify it a little bit. But a place like this, a space being created like on your mental, it's good on its own. You know what I'm saying? Like having these episodes as often as we can have them, it does good. We've heard the feedback, and if we've helped even one person by now, job is done. You know, it's been successful. So I'm doing my best to let go and forgive what I saw as a failure, as far as like how successful it was in X amount of time. It's a silly thing to put pressure on. And I realize that now. I've been doing a fair bit of thinking, and I'm going to continue to think about it. I'm going to try and make sure that that thought kind of goes away, because I think the more that I get out of my own way, the better this stuff is going to be, especially for all of you as the audience, right? Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to like stop trying. And so that's the message too, like for you all who do things in your life and who work on things in your life and want to see improvement in your life. Maybe you've got a project that you're working on. There needs to be some kind of balance between contentment and striving. This is something that my partner actually shared with me when we were talking about this together, and it stuck in my head. But finding that balance between contentment and striving, it's like, just because I'm taking, in this particular example, I'm taking away some pressure to see growth at a certain rate, or a rate that makes me feel like, oh yeah, it's doing really well. That doesn't mean that you stop caring. That doesn't mean that you stop trying to improve. That doesn't mean that you stop trying to see growth or progress towards completion of said project, whatever it is you're working on. But what it does mean is that you can take away some of the pressure and be content with the fact that you are on whatever journey you're on. That path, you know, it's all that kind of corny foo-foo bullshit, but it's just you come to your own conclusions in life to reach these corny things that people say. But it's that whole idea that it's like not about the destination, but it's the journey. You know what I mean? Like that whole kind of concept. And I got there eventually, you know, and I hope that anybody else who's maybe ever felt just like a load of pressure that they maybe put on themselves to get something done in a certain way, or achieve some goal, like try and maybe one day reach that same conclusion. You know, it feels good. It feels good right now, not thinking, oh shit, I got to get something done a certain way to satisfy what, you know. I hope this is making sense, by the way. I feel like it is, but I hope it's making sense. But yeah, you need to strike a balance between contentment and striving, right? There's a fine line there, maybe, like if you tip over one way, if you were striving too much and you're putting all this pressure, that can feel really negative and that can stop your growth entirely. Or if you're completely content with what you're doing, then you won't necessarily grow. If you're not trying to push yourself and challenge yourself and try new things, then you're not going to see growth there too. So there's a balance, right? There's a balance that you got to find. So that's something I'm working on at the moment, is trying to find that place. And the thing I wanted to share towards the end of the episode here about On Your Mental, that'll kind of touch on that a little. I realize that like some of what I'm saying, it can kind of sound like, oh, you just shouldn't try. That's stupid too. That's bullshit. You should absolutely try. You should work towards whatever dreams you might have. But just understand the role that doubt can play in those dreams. It's like when I was thinking over this last couple of weeks, like, shit, this isn't growing as fast as I wanted it to, I had real thoughts coming in my head saying like, oh, maybe I should just stop. Maybe I should just not do this anymore. Maybe I shouldn't make the podcast. Oh, wouldn't it be nice to have all this extra free time? Like, I was coming up with excuses and like reasons why maybe one shouldn't continue to do this. And so those little like seeds of doubt can be pretty corrosive towards a dream, and you don't even notice it until it starts to like creep towards being too late. I was trying to think of like an analogy for it, and I started to imagine like an apple, like if your dream was an apple, looks great on the outside, solid, you go to pick it in the grocery store, right? You take it home, it's no problem. But imagine if there was like a little bug in there, kind of burrowing holes from the inside out. That's kind of like those little bits of doubt. And it might be doubt from yourself. It might be doubt from people around you too. It might be friends, or maybe not the best friends at that point. But might be people around you that are saying like, oh, nah, like, I don't think it's going to work, man. It's not worth the time. Like, maybe you should think about doing something else. And nobody, luckily, has ever said something like that to me. I've had great friends who have supported this all the way throughout. Any doubt that I've had has all come from myself and like how this is like running, right? Which again, I'm learning to see is kind of silly, but you got to be careful with that kind of doubt because you don't see it. You might not recognize it for what it is until you've given up on that dream and it's now, this apple is rotten from the core, you're not able to, you can't eat it anymore. The apple's busted. Yeah, be mindful of doubt and how it affects your dreams. Time and time again, you'll hear people say stuff about how anything's possible, right? Like, anything's possible if you just put your mind to it, you believe it can happen, anything's possible. And there is some truth to that, right? There is some truth to that, because a lot of the times people will give up on things, myself included in the past. People give up on things just because you tell yourself like, oh shit, it's not working the way I exactly expected it to go. If you've never done something before, how do you have any idea how it's going to go? There's no blueprint for how something is going to pan out, how an effort or a project or a creative endeavor or art or a job application, an interview, invention. There's no blueprint for how any of that stuff works, right? It just happens. And this all comes back to that idea that I talked about at the start, where it's that your path is your path. Don't compare yourself to where you are relative to other people, because that's silly. You can't be anywhere else. You can't have any other experiences in your life than the ones that you have. As stupid as that might sound to say out loud, it makes complete sense, and you can't say otherwise. Your experiences are going to be your experiences. You can imagine as much as you want how something's going to go. You can try and prepare. You can try and set goals and expectations of where you might want to be. But at the end of the day, things are going to pan out the way they're going to pan out. So take a little bit of the pressure off. I think that's the point of this message this week, is take some of the pressure off and just appreciate the path that you're on. That's it. And again, I'm still working on it myself. But if you get to a place like that where you understand that whatever path it is you're on is yours, there's nothing different that you can experience other than what you are going to experience, I think that's where the real satisfaction in life can start to come in. When you realize or you believe that the things that you're doing are all there is, when you center yourself and you think about where you are now rather than where you want to be, those moments can feel pretty at peace, like even if you did it right now. Like shit, there's gonna be a weird pause. I'm gonna give you 15, 20 seconds right now. 20 seconds. I'll look at it on my watch here. I'll give you 20 seconds to sit and think to yourself, where am I right now? What's around me? What am I doing right now? Who am I with? Pause for 20 seconds. Think about where you are, and think and realize that those problems that you're worrying about later right now probably going to go away. I'll give you 20 seconds. Ain't no way I was going to just put my face up on the screen like you're just going to stare at me the whole time for 20 seconds. But anyways, I hope that in doing that, if you pause for a moment, you just look around and think about where you are right now and what you're doing right now, what's going on around you right now. That centers you a little bit today. And you practice a little bit of mindfulness there, The point of me like wanting to go down this path, and I think the pressure I was feeling in part came from comparison. I think that comparison at its worst is the thief of joy. When you start placing your own life up on whatever shelf next to somebody else's life, and you start comparing things between the two, it's very easy to start going, oh shit, I don't have that, I haven't done that, I'm missing this. It's so easy to start noticing what you think that you don't have in your life. But again, understand and recognize that you can't compare a life, because you can do absolutely nothing about it to live another person's life. Yours is yours. That's it. So there's no sense in comparing yourself to other people's. Now, not everybody does this. It's funny. I was talking to friends about this and like me feeling this way. And some of them like immediately were like, nah, man, that's crazy. Like, why would you ever compare yourself to like how other people are doing, let's say on TikTok or whatever. And other people were like understanding and like maybe have felt the same. So I know that not everybody does this. Not everybody does compare themselves to other people's lives or other people's accomplishments and things. But for those of you that do, try and think about it this way, right? Like see it as understanding that your life is it. There is no other way about it, right? There's no sense in doing that kind of comparison. If you sit around and compare yourself and your life to other people's all day, think about the fun shit you get to miss out on because of that comparison. You're too busy wrapped up thinking, man, I should be doing something else. Man, I can't. Why am I not living that kind of life? Why am I not driving that car? Whatever the fuck it might be. Look around and appreciate the stuff that you got on your own, When you don't do that, you start to get into positions like how I was feeling, where I was comparing myself, and I was trying, and because of that comparison is like I was trying to like will my way to somehow get closer to what I was comparing to. And you can't make leaps and bounds in progress with a profession, a project, art, creativity, anything like that. You got to learn, you got to take your steps, you got to work on your own path. And I think that kind of pressure takes away so much authenticity from art, and specifically this example. Authenticity in art comes from you being yourself. And it comes from you drawing on whatever strengths you do have and trying to avoid outside influence on it. Because if outside influence comes into your art and whatever it is that you're trying to create, then it's not necessarily yours anymore, right? Like you're getting another vision kind of mixed in with that. And that takes away from what is authentically you. So I think it's important that you try and let the authenticity breathe through if you are someone who is in an artistic space. I'm again referring to ourselves here with the podcast. In thinking about this stuff, it's reminded me that I need to understand what place On Your Mental actually has. And On Your Mental as a podcast, as a platform, as a community, if you will, is for all of you to feel bettered and empowered with respect to your mental health as you watch these episodes. You know, if you feel a little more at ease after getting to listen through to some of these, that's great. Like if we're able to kind of give you a piece in your week or however often we're posting this stuff, that leaves you feeling a little better, sweet. We're doing a fucking stand-up job. You hear that, Cap? Stand-up job, man. So yeah, I'll kind of like start wrapping things up here. This is a super short one, by the way, obviously. I wanted to say that, and this is the last little message here. The greatest gift you can possibly have in life is already yours, and that is, of course, life itself. It's really fun being challenged in life, trying new shit out, pressing and seeing what it is that you can do, going outside of your comfort zone. But you don't have to put some pressure to constantly be doing that. It's okay not to have constant progress. It's okay to be moving at your own pace. It's okay to be developing at your own rate. It's okay to be learning at your own rate, because you need to understand that your path is your path, and that's it. There is no other way about going through life. There's no need to be telling yourself that you got to be living life one way or another. You live it the way that you want to live it, and you live it the way that works for you, because guess what? You already are. So I want to mention here at the end of this very short episode, we're going to be switching to episodes every 2 weeks, at least for the summer, and maybe longer. I don't know. We're going to do that so that takes the pressure off. I want to keep making these because I really like making these. I enjoy the conversations. I enjoy having a space, even for myself, to come and get shit off my own chest. And I know that it helps people. Some of you who are listeners, right? People who reach out to us and tell us that it was important to hear a certain thing. So we're going to keep these coming, but we're going to change the rate at which we do it, because I think or hope that will help. And that might change too, right? Maybe once every 2 weeks is just a bit much, but for now we're going to switch, and hopefully that's going to lead to better stuff coming out for all of you. Maybe more consistent stuff coming out for all of you too. Not these weird moments where we're promising one every week and now we're getting one every 2. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to leave things there. Kabir should be back on whatever next episode we film. But all of you at home, stay healthy, work on your own path, be present in where you are this week. And we'll see you in a couple weeks from now. Peace.